All righty, who is here? We are live. Does anyone have the sound? Can I get a sound check? We're going to do a sound check real quick just to see what pops up. It's me, Justin Madison. How's everyone doing? Pretty sure we're going to have a sound delay. How's everyone doing? All right, good. We can hear. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Reality Mapping. What is this? 5? Yeah, we're on part 5 now. Welcome. So, how's everyone's week been? Has anyone done anything really fun or interesting? Had a couple people show up semi-regularly. I think as we go on, there'll probably be more who show up, right? So, today. Let's see if anyone's in the lobby. I don't think I can see it over here so much, but maybe if I look at, yep, we have 2. All right. So, jumping on in. This last couple weeks, let's do a little bit of a review. Reality mapping is where we try to figure out the universe. Not only the universe, right? Because it's a big thing. Good luck trying to figure the whole thing out. I'm pretty sure humanity's been doing that forever. But what is relevant to us, how we can navigate it better, have a better mental map or model so that we can get to where we want to go. Now, what is that? It could be many things. It could be fulfillment. It could be to help others. Use the positive things, you could say. It could be to have a like purpose or meaning. It could be to get richer. Ooh, if you're spiritual, you might get sick of that word, but if you're more a pragmatic person, these things here might turn you off in that scenario. It could be to be happier. So on and so on. It could be many things. Now, overall, though, I think we can all agree there's some basic things that nobody wants. Nobody wants to always be sad and depressed. Nobody really wants to have a bad life where you're in poverty. No one really wants to be, someone who is the victim of a negative environment. Like maybe you're in a war zone or something. No one wants to be any part of any of that. So I really think what we're saying here is not controversial. And to want these things is good. And really, when we say reality mapping, we're not even just talking about the here and now, this planet or this lifetime that we're in. Let's say some people think there's a heaven, some people think there's reincarnation, et cetera, et cetera. This is a part of the big picture and how to interact, live, etc. So we've already talked about a North Star, cycles, kind of like what is this universe that we're in. But now, as we're getting more details in our map, because we've set more or less some of the parameters of the map, now we're going to start filling it in with little details, right? So the terrain. That's probably how you spell it. Okay, so what is our terrain? We are going to talk about, and this could really be split up into like 5 different things. You could say your physical body is one of the things in the terrain. You could say that the physical world, so physical world, at literally, we could talk about literal terrain features like oceans, mountains, the temperature of the earth, all of these things, because that sounds a little redundant, but they're actually very powerful on us. We can also talk about, this is going to be a good one, governments. That one is very dicey. We'll see what we get about that. But we can go to overall structure. We can talk about war. We can talk about economy, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things here to cover. And this is where we get into the weeds on a lot of stuff. And I think I have a lot to offer you on all these topics. I have a wide range of experience in life on, the physical manifestations of our reality. Right? So, where do we start? I'll tell you where we start. We start at the very beginning. On this physical plane that we are in, this terrain that we have to navigate, time and everything. One of the very first things, let's start with the order in that God made reality. So in the beginning, there was light, and then God made the heavens and the earth. We've kind of already covered that. And then he made the earth, which was not with form. And then he made the waters of the earth and made land mass and all this stuff. And then followed by, he ended up doing animals. And after animals, there were humans. So we're going to work in that order. We got Jamie Ultrarian. I'm not sure if I'm seeing your name correct, but hey there, buddy. How are you? Good to see you. So let's start with the very earth itself and how it shapes us. Now, here we are, a very unique planet, at least in comparison to our solar system. We are covered in mostly water all over this earth, right? Whatever it all is. Water. Water, in a lot of spiritual teachings, is where everything comes out of. You get baptized, the Holy Spirit is of water. You look at alchemy and all that stuff, it says that out of the elements, that's the base that everything comes out of, right? I'm talking a little bit. Water is a very interesting part of reality. It is pervasive, it's everywhere, and it's what we're made out of, mostly water. We are this thing that is like a water sack, really. Here's a little interesting couple things, right? We are dependent on water heavily. It's a resource. We must consume it. This is one of the first key points about us, is that we must survive based off resources as humans. And water is next to air, like number one, right? I don't think I'm telling anyone here anything special. But in this place we are, a lot of the resources that are available to us come at different qualities. So you could have like spring-fed water. You can have ocean water. You can have lake water. You can have rainwater. All right, so on and so forth. Oh, and then you have government water or tap water. Which is the one you think that we're the most inclined usually to consume? It's going to be something like, naturally, us humans, the places we came from. They say it's the Fertile Crescent, right? Somewhere over by Ethiopia, Egypt, up into like, Israel, that kind of area that's going on now. They had the oceans. That was everywhere. But that's where we got our food. Springs and streams. Now I can do a little side tangent about water. I take water very serious. Why? Think of this. You're 70% made of water, roughly, approximately. We being biological creatures, our emotions, our performance, et cetera, is all largely dictated by what we consume. You are what you eat, or in this case, you are what you drink. I'll just come out and say it right away. This is the very worst water you can absolutely drink because it has so many additives in it. They try to clean it with bleaches and fluorides and many other chemicals, and it's recycled. It's recycled from really our sewage. Um, it is also very still in a lot of senses, and it's not rich, and the pH levels are off in it. You want like an 8 in the pH scale or 7.5 ish to something like that. All these things affect your mind greatly, right? This water, if you have a lack of minerals, your neurons will not fire correctly from that water. If you have too much fluorides, you calcify your body and become stiff. Now, none of this is medical advice. I'm not giving anyone any type of medical advice or anything. I'm not making any types of claims. But what I am saying is, I have noticed for myself, something that I drink regularly is I have a well. I have well water. Okay. Well water that I have here, I have tested it. I have brought it over to university labs and they've checked it all off. It is completely clean of um, glyphosates. I don't have too high of sulfur levels. I don't have too high of iron levels, all these things. When I personally started drinking well water from my property, I noticed my aches and pains went away in my body, right? It was for me a big deal. And I would have to say it's so simple, but it is for me been so powerful. Why do I bring this whole thing, this spiel up about water? Is it really about water? No, it is not really about water. What I'm trying to bring up here when we're mapping reality and we're getting down to the terrain is our minds are largely affected by our bodies, our physical vessels for our soul, our spirit, our mind, etc. And how we treat our bodies will in turn affect how we perform and the results we get out of life. Now, let's oversimplify this. Let's say that I stop drinking water, period, right? And I just drank whiskey all day instead. Could be a little fun for a while, but very quickly I'm going to become an alcoholic who is completely dependent on whiskey. My organs will start shutting down. My thoughts will be very negative. I'll be over emotionally reactive. I won't be structured. I won't be any of these things. And my life, I'll probably have a short lifespan. I probably won't last very long. What I am trying to get at here is when we're navigating this map reality and stuff like that, we have to harmonize our body with what we were brought up in. Okay. Our environment dictates who we are, this physical reality. We walk on two legs. What is that from? That is from the process of really, I mean, it's evolution or a change in our environment. Where once upon a time, a lot of species that are around dwelled in trees, our ancestors, right? And then there was, I think that was the Hunger Dryas period, where I think it was storms, etc., lack of rain, got rid of a lot of the vegetation. And in order to hunt and gather food, we had to come out of the trees and work our way into what gradually became more plains, right? And the things that we consumed there are largely what we are meant to consume. They would have drank out of streams and springs, moving water that's filtered by the riverbeds, right? We would have eaten what was available, which would have been a variety of things. It would have been a lot of meats now, and there also would have been vegetation we would have eaten at the time, a Paleolithic type of diet, right? Now, there's a lot of argument. People will say, we are carnivores, we are vegetarians, we are an omnivore, something like that, right? Well, let's really look back in time and what were people doing. The big thing that we have proofs of are bones from our ancestors. You could say Neanderthals, Homo erectus, um, a lot of others. There's tons of these. We have cave paintings. What are cave paintings of? It's usually of a little stick figure man, right? And he has a spear. And that spear is like hunting some type of buffalo or something. It is within our environment, is within our DNA. We are definitely, at least for the bare minimum, the last 11,000 years. Because if you're a Christian or whatever, you believe in creation or whatever, we are somebody who hunted. We ate meat. Even the Bible, like, right? Adam and Eve, they're in the garden, they eat fruits and vegetables, they move out. God shows them how to sacrifice animals, and then they go and they eat animals. They wear their skin, etc. Even in the Bible, I believe it says that a man who only eats vegetables is weak and is unrighteous. Look up that verse. Tell me if anyone knows it. Is anyone here in the chat? All right. Okay, we got three. We got a couple. Okay, that being said, the meat eating. The other thing is, I am not someone who typically, and in my own diet, is someone who just eats meat. Um, we are very obviously inclined to also eat vegetables. Now, why do I say that? A big indicator is your teeth, right? You have canines, which would be for biting into hard surfaces, meats, or some types of vegetables, etc. But we also have molars. Our molars are literally designed just like a cow, how they chew their cud and all these things, for chewing fibrous materials. They're perfect for it. They're a masher, mashing things that are like fruits and vegetables or grains. So, this all being said, right, you don't want to in life be someone who eats cardboard. It probably wouldn't be good for you. Yes, there are calories in cardboard, but it's not going to do much for very long. You'll probably get sick very fast because there's other things in it. So, yet again, to reiterate, why am I talking about water and food and all of these things, et cetera, et cetera? I'm trying to showcase we as humans have limitations. You're going to have to wake up. You're going to have to go to the bathroom the very first thing when you wake up. And you're going to have to eat. You're going to have to get resources. Very, very basic stuff I'm trying to illustrate. There's a larger point. All of these necessities were tied at the hip to nature. And as nature changes, as our environments change, we change. Okay. This gets hyper extended, not just to like food availability, water availability, etc. But our environment, we're very shaped by things like the economy. We're shaped by our environment of governments. We're shaped by, our environment of, just how much sunlight we get or do not get. I am in a room right now that's lit by fluorescent lights. They're not good for you. Well, those are actually LED, but we're made to get different types of sunlight. So, look, if you're living in an environment that is totally different than what we were brought up in, your emotional states will be different. If your emotional states are different and you're in a depressive state because, and this is for me, this is not health advice again, you're eating foods that are not fit to you. You're in lighting all day that is not comparable to the sunlight you're in, drinking the water, your activity patterns throughout the day, your sleeping patterns, etc. You're going to be like in a light level depression. You might even be in a high level depression. Who knows? For me, this type of environment, when I am in it and I consume that lifestyle, my thinking gets worse. I'm less motivated. I have less energy to do things. I get more sad easily. This is really okay. A lot of people try to be healthy to get like a six pack, big muscles, etc. To me, that is not the primary reason you try to be healthy and connect with reality as well. It is more for your emotional state. For example, I have not eaten at a McDonald's or a majority of fast food restaurants in, I don't know, it's been like 5, 6 years now. I do not miss it. If I eat anything at a fast food place, my wife, she's a real sucker for Chick-fil-A. We'll go there maybe once a month. Or, we usually go to a dining restaurant. I usually get a steak, maybe a burger, very few ingredients. This type of stuff has been very helpful. You have depression. Well, I am sorry to hear that, Dragon Queen 4799. Do you feel like a lack of motivation to do things? Is that kind of how your depression is? Is that what you feel in these scenarios? Just checking in on you. It's okay. I at certain points in my life have felt very depressed. Times I go through little swings of it, but I don't make it my whole identity personally. My father died in 2023. I got worse. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. That's very rough. And, I have not had my father die. I've had other family members die. It can really suck. And I'm sure you do miss him horribly. But hey, the biggest thing we have to realize that that's another part of this terrain in life is that we are going to have people we're going to lose. We're, these physical creatures for a short while. Our souls go on. But we have to be grateful for the times that we do have with them and remember that we're going on and we are here for other people. And for the times that we are here, we need to be present for them. I don't want to put anything, out there that's, imposing, but I think you wouldn't want your father to have been very sad and, very negative all the time while he was here with you. You've got to pass it on. You got to be that someone who is positive and inspiring for other people. You got to take that memory of your father and realize, hey, I really appreciated him. I want to be the person who other people will appreciate so they can go on and do their life well. So, that being said, I'll keep moving on here for a second. That light depression, the depression thing is a big one nowadays. And I know a lot of tricks about it, but I can't give medical advice on how to move through it. A lot of it is you have to be delusional and you have to be overly positive in a lot of ways, but a lot of it is physical. So, anyway, we're talking about this terrain we're in. What I'm really trying to get to is this earth, right? We are only able to survive on this earth in any really high level successful way. If we go to move into Mars and we want to live there, we have to terraform Mars and we have to make it as similar to Earth as possible because we have to be in these exact right conditions. So, that all being said, if we want to navigate the world well, we have to follow the patterns we're evolved to the most on the most frequent scale we can, right? So that means getting your sleep every night. You want to do that 6 to 9 hour thing. For me, I get 8 hours on the dot every night. I am asleep. I am in my bed asleep at 8 p.m. and I wake up every day at 4 a.m. Now, that might not be the best, right? Because I'm going to sleep when the sun is still kind of up, and then I'm waking up way before I actually see the sunlight. They say naturally you're supposed to wake up with the sun and go to sleep with the sun. But here's another interesting thing. They say there are 4 sleep cycles, and that some people are not meant to go up with the sun or go to sleep with the sun and up with the sun. And there's an evolutionary reason for this. The purpose is that think about 10,000 years ago, you're living in a tribe. Imagine you have 150 or so people and everyone went to sleep at the exact same time. That would be pretty dangerous, don't you think? if everyone just all went unconscious for 8 to 10 hours all at the same time? Well, it was. And so naturally, different people in their DNA have a natural inclination to sleep at different periods of time. They give them like four different, like one person is a bear, one person is a lion, one person is whatever. But some people, you may have like a large group, like the majority of the group, like 60% that do this, going to sleep with the sun and awake with the sun. But there'll be some people who sleep during the day for brief periods, daily. They take naps. You also have other people who do staggered sleep patterns that they're more inclined to. There have been famous people who've actually done this. I think Leonardo da Vinci, he did it for a while. Isaac Newton, he did it for a while, where they try to sleep 2 hours at a time, or every 2 hours they would sleep for an hour. They thought it was the most natural. Medieval period time, people would often wake up in the middle of the night and have like a midnight snack, was what they would call it, and then they would end up going back to sleep and then waking up with the sun, because there might be like a almost 11, 12 hour period where there's no sunlight and you can't work with it. But lights are a big game changer in our evolution nowadays. So that's one thing, is sleep. Let me go over the comments. I love the advice. I have to take a sleep aid, circadian rhythm. What do you think about daylight savings? Is there a disease, I can't remember the name, where you can't sleep at all? It kills people. Yeah, there's a couple of them. You can have insomnia. You can have what is it? Neck. Not necropathy. What is it called? I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But yeah, there's people who can't sleep. But here's another thing. There's an anomaly of people that have what's called clock disease, or gene clock disease, where they literally do not sleep at all. There are people who literally stay awake for 24 hours a day. And this is yet again to showcase that people have a little bit of different sleep cycles, but you have to find the one that's right for you. There's a good book on it. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it'll kind of help you figure out which one. Me personally, I honestly probably would sleep best going to bed at like 9 and then waking up 8 hours later, or 10ish. So probably more like 6 a.m., right about with the sun. Okay, so we're trying to figure out how to get our minds working well so we can navigate reality well. We've talked about water. We're talking about sleep. Um, you have to drink also the right amount of water. Some people say a gallon a day. I don't know personally for me if that's true. There's been evidence by some people you can do less, but you certainly need to drink water, and you need to make it the thing you drink more than sodas, energy drinks, you know, beer, etc. Not to say you can't drink those things. Um, that all being said, I'm getting a lot of comments here. That all being said, you have water, you have sleep. We went over food briefly. Really, the biggest thing with foods, you all already know this, and this will affect your mind a lot, is processed foods. Okay. We're talking about, when you go to a grocery store, if you do, you want to stay on the outside edge of a grocery store where you pick all your food from. Everything in the middle aisles is more or less things that aren't that great for you, because you have to think you're eating biomaterial. The things you're eating are cells. You're eating things that have grown out of the ground or have eaten off the ground or eaten other animals. Really, you don't eat so many things that eat other animals. You don't, that's not very common. But those things you're eating, their cells degrade once they're dead or they've been, harvested, whether it's animals or produce. And the second they are harvested, they start losing their integrity in their cells, and they start being compromised by bacteria and viruses and just general rot and decay. So, in order to be able to get our on time delivery systems for food down correctly, we have to come up with preservatives to get them into a packaging, on a truck, into a store where it sits. The things you're eating could have been harvested like a month plus ago. Here is one of the most interesting facts I've learned about produce and etc. is that if you pluck, let's say, a tomato off of a tomato plant, Now, I have a garden. I love my garden, and this is one of the big reasons I have it. Within 24 hours of a tomato being plucked, it will lose 50% of its nutritional value, meaning all of the vitamins, the minerals, the actual digestible calories, etc. You're eating a half dead thing. Think of our ancestors. If back in the hunter gatherer plains, wherever it could have been Europe, Asia, they would have killed their food, their animals, and within that same day started eating it. If they found a tomato plant, they would have plucked it, and within that same day, they would have been eating it, right? There wasn't so much food. There was food storage. It was like smoked meats, dried berries, sun dried things. But that food wasn't getting stored for like really more than even a month period. It would have been eaten quickly. We ate hand to mouth, literally back what our DNA was the most used to. Okay. Um, that all being said, other factors we have to talk about. This one I'm the most guilty of is electromagnetic frequencies. Your cell phone, the laptop, all these things, they're all going to put you in a more negative state. Okay. Oh, I hate the taste of water. I can't stand the way it tastes. I don't drink soda. I drink Circle. What is that? What's Circle? Kirkle? I don't know. So someone else made a comment. Here's the thing. Maybe you need to check the type of water you're drinking. Are you drinking bottled water? Or are you drinking tap water? Those are mostly chemicals you're drinking. Um, I have a well. It's a luxury. I know not everyone can have one. I love my well water. It tastes great. And not only that, your palate has to adjust to the taste of water. If you just are used to sweet and sugary things all the time, water is going to taste repulsive because there's no pleasure. You're desensitized. Your dopamine levels are way too high drinking whatever else that most everyone's drinking all the time. That being said, look at videos of tribal people that are alive today living in like Sudan or in the Amazon, and look at they do reaction videos of them drinking like a Coca-Cola or eating some type of candy bar or something. It is hilarious. You'll see some guy in Africa, all he's been drinking is water his whole life out of like puddles and streams or just eating vegetation, and they'll give him a Coca-Cola. And it's as if he was doing cocaine for the first time in his life. Funny enough, Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it. The reactions are like getting high on a super drug. We are not used to that. It's going to mess with your emotional states too much. You'll be overstimulated. Here's the other things. Sugar. Sugar is a super big deal. We are not adapt to eating all of the sugar and carbohydrates like we have them now. There are so many. MSG is a sugar. So many vegetable oils are a sugar. So many of these things are super high in your glycemic response and the glycemic index, meaning they're processed as sugar. It's food without nutrition. 10,000 years ago, 30,000 years ago, 300,000 years ago, you know where the most sugars you would get? It'd be from fruits and vegetables, which were only in season certain times a year, and getting honey from bees or maybe syrup from a tree. The average person, they said, in a year would maybe get at most 300 grams of sugar a year. And we're talking about like a simple carbohydrate, right? We now consume that in one soda. A soda is maybe like 65 grams or whatever, but you could easily in one snack consume that much sugar. We are not supposed to be eating this much sugar. For me, anyway, not medical advice. But this stuff is going to mess with your dopamine systems. Oh, I forgot the R at the end of sugar. Thank you. I got excited about my little spiel. Thanks for correcting me. Maybe I was hoping someone would notice, and then I know you're all paying attention. But anyway, sugars, I'm not going to say this is a fact, but do you think diabetes existed 10,000 years ago? If I had to take a wild guess, I'd say no. Not that I know. I'm not making any claims. Just pretend conversation between friends here. Just non-serious talk. Look at, and this we're going to circle this back to spiritual practices. Every religion, every spiritual practice, they talk about fasting. Why do they talk about fasting? What is the purpose? Well, we can talk about a generalized purpose. We can try to talk about a scientific purpose. Let's do the spiritual one first. We'll flavor this conversation about that. The purpose behind fasting is to diminish your ego. The point is to suffer the hunger for a period of time and realize that your identity is not eating, that you will survive past not eating. And that's why they say a longer fasting period is better for your soul, because you disconnect from this world. And when you disconnect from this world with fasting, your ego doesn't have as much control over you. You no longer think, I am going to die if I don't eat as much. You start to prove to your brain that you're okay and that you're not just here as some type of survival machine who needs to take. You start to become more abundant in your thinking. And from there, you can start having a clearer mind because your body is not spending all of its time processing all of the things you're digesting. You can put your calories towards your brain more, and you'll start to go into ketosis where your brain functions better off of the calories you consume. You start using fat as your fuel system. Okay. Thoughts on eating a paleo diet? Well, that's what we've been talking about this whole time is more or less a paleo diet. Now, I know some people have very specific standards for what a paleo diet is, the proportions of the amount of food, etc. I'm just making it broad and talking about paleo, the sense of what was closest to, you know, your longest ancestors. And here's the thing too, is not every race is adapt to eating the same things. Okay. A lot of Asians are not very good at digesting dairy, for example, right? And then inversely, Europeans are actually pretty good at digesting carbs in comparison. And not only carbs, but alcohols. So you have to realize this weird thing about us is it doesn't take as many generations as you think for a human to change its genes or its biology. Um, this is where we need to get a little more nuanced. You need to also, or I need to also, fit your diets and your lifestyle a little closer to the environment that you were in for your people group. Native Americans, for example, are notoriously bad at drinking alcohol. It affects them way more. It takes less alcohol for them to become intoxicated in their blood alcohol levels to get more elevated. This is documented proof. So, a part of this terrain that we're a part of, it's regional specific as for how we have to navigate. And that being said, let's talk about how fast you could potentially evolve. Okay, who has seen? There's this hilarious meme. It makes me laugh every time. Where there's this picture of it's like a wolf on the edge of a caveman campfire, and the wolf is outside of the camp and it's hungry because it's not finding any food, and it sees these cavemen making a meal, and it has a little thought bubble above the wolf, and the wolf says, "You know, maybe I should go over there and see if they'll give me some food. What would be the harm and if I went over and just got a little food from them?" And then the next section of the meme is literally a pug in a little dog pug birthday suit. And it's just sitting there and they're giving it like a birthday cake with a candle. Like 10,000 years later, that pug has lost all of its ancestral heritage. It's not even the same creature anymore. This thing is a shadow of its former self. In a lot of ways, as humans, we can change too. I'm going to tell you, I have like one of the highest levels of Neanderthal DNA in the world. I'm like over in the 78th percentile Neanderthal. And our ancestors were much different than us. Their strength, their endurance, their ability to, just endure harder things. Like it's majorly different. And it still takes time to adjust to stuff. And especially now, we're going through these exponential curves of change in reality, which makes it hard for us to adapt, and we don't feel good about our environment, the depression type thing. But we do change. And, you know, um, like let's take, for example, they did a study on foxes in Russia. They tried to figure out how to domesticate foxes into household animals that could be sold as pets. There's this guy, it was a single lab experiment, and they figured out that they could take these foxes and within 7 generations of simply selecting the pups or the cubs out of the fox litter, the ones that were more domesticated in features, and then just breeding those, that they could end up with this new fox that was more like a dog than a fox. Their faces became shorter, their tails got less fluffy, their coat color changed, the shape of their jaws and their teeth flattened out. And yes, this was with a human control. But the point is that maybe not for 7 generations humans can get completely domesticated, but 100 generations is something like maybe 1,000, 2,000 years, right? Mine might be a little off on my math, but 1,000 years can change who we are. And so maybe we're not entirely cave people, but I still think a lot of the tail end of the cave people behaviors is in us. And we're maybe a little more kind of like naturally into the agricultural setting, which came after the cave people and then later on. Okay, just checking in on everyone. That explains a lot. You forgot the. Okay, okay. Is anyone here actually learning anything? Can I get a hand up in the comments or something? Okay. So we're really trying to figure out how to utilize our minds better. We have to realize that we have to take the time. This is all simple. You all know it. Unplug our phones. Don't eat at fast food places. Get the sleep we need. And we need to be able to have the social groups that we're meant to be in. I think the other big component of this video for tonight is we're going to talk about social. We are social creatures through and through. We are not designed to be lone wolf hunters. We have always been in a small group of something around 150 people, and that dynamic has shaped who we are through and through. We grow up with what we consider, maybe we're not directly related to people, but the people in our tribes being our family. Family names, last names. My name's Justin Madison. The last name Madison, for most of human history, there would be no last name. It was just, in my case, this works out well. If your name was Madison, you were the son of Mad, or Mattison, or Matson, something like that, or John's son. To illustrate, that's only been around for what, maybe 2,000-ish years. So to illustrate, most of human history, we lived in these small groups, and the lines of what family was very blurred. And so we would work together with people we would know for 10, 20, 30 years and see them every single day and develop very deep bonds to the point where they felt like they were your brother, your sister, your whatever. And we don't have that so much now today. Nobody has so much the groups of people where they know them longer than 10 years. There's a couple studies done where they figured out, in order to develop what they called a trust belt history, you would have to know someone for a minimum of 10 years to get comfortable enough with them. You can totally let your guard down around them and not act a character in front of them, but you fully be yourself when you are around them and say the things that you think and how you really feel. So, a lot of this mismatching in our societies nowadays has to do with people can't feel like they connect with people. And when you feel like you don't have a sense of belonging or a group of people, your anxiety levels go up higher. You feel like you have to be in a survival environment where you have to be guarded and you have to withhold your thoughts, right? Which creates a lot of, what is it? Not neuropathy, psychosis of types, right? So that all being said, the other big component, and this is something I do, is I have an Excel spreadsheet of about 100 people that are my people. And whenever I have plans to make or I have, some social thing that I get invited to, if they're not in that 100-person group, then what I will do is I will always prioritize the people in that 100-person group if I have an invite from them first. And I will, when I make plans, the majority of my weekends, whatever, will always involve that 100 people. Those are the people I always go to. I don't have 5,000 people that I follow on social medias, etc. It's just my people. And you really don't have the time for all of that. There's a lot of reasons for this, but that can also be why maybe you're kind of sad in life. Just a thought. And this will also help you to be able to think better. You'll feel more secure and you won't have such anxiety levels that put you in a state of fear and cause your ego to overrun you. All right. So we covered today. It was a lot, actually. We covered water. We covered food. We covered sleep. We covered social. As another thing for food, we did sugar. And what else? I think, did we have another one that we did? Did someone remind me in the comments? What was the other thing? This is a pretty basic one. Lights, like EMFs. EMFs really mess with you. I didn't cover that one so much. I kind of just mentioned it. But anyway, the takeaway is if you want to navigate reality well, first, one of the things to navigate is getting closer to what you are made to be. And two, you will function better. I will function better. We will all function better if we're closer. I'm not saying it has to be exact. That environment we are from, and we'll have a better output. If you had a gasoline vehicle and you put diesel in it, that thing is going to blow up in 2 seconds. Inversely, I mean, you might be able to run for a little bit, but it's not going to run well. You'll ruin your vehicle. It'll kill off. The performance will be worse, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to, what we fuel ourselves with in life, not just food, not just water, but our in social environment, the entertainment we put into us, a close eye onto it because it will affect our performance. Olympic athletes, they're the highest performers. They don't eat McDonald's every day. That's just an example. But hey, last thing I'm just going to bring up just to make this super clear is I am not giving you guys any medical advice. This is just all my personal experience. I'm just telling you what's affected me. This has been reality mapping part 5. It's been on terrain. One of the terrains that we're dealing with in our reality is literally our resources we get from it, our bodies and how we connect to it. So we still have a lot more to do with terrain. We can go on and cover some more things next, like social structures, governments, etc. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Justin Madison. If you liked this live stream, we do them every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Time. And I put out videos every Sunday too, where I do these little talks on they're kind of like daily meditations, and they're about life, kind of like metaphysics, spirituality, self-improvement type thing. So if you would like, please like, comment, subscribe. And if you want to come back for more, I would appreciate it if you did. And I think you'll get something out of it. I think there'll definitely be a lot to learn. I have read a lot of books. I have a business that I run successfully with a lot of employees. And when I was young, I mean, I was very philosophically studied and theologically studied. Was going to be a pastor when I was a kid. So, but anyway, that's just to kind of give a little bit of a resume for you guys if you want to learn more. But other than that, have a good week. Tomorrow's Monday, guys. Let's get after it. Go ahead, get to bed on time, and get your week started right. And look into this stuff for yourself. Thanks. Have a good one.